Another year of film has come and gone, and this is going to be my top 15 films of 2017. Before the year goes on even longer, I want to delve into my top 15 favorite films from 2017. I know a lot of people do top 10s or do top 5s or top 20s. I like to stick with 15. It just feels like an odd number. And of course, all of these selections are based on just my personal preference, my personal opinion, my personal analysis. But before I delve into the top 15, I want to do some honorable mentions. Essentially, these honorable mentions will be my 20 through 16 picks. And those films are Baby Driver, The Florida Project, Call Me By Your Name, Get Out, and The Big Sick. Those are several films that have been critically praised throughout the year, and I just wanted to acknowledge them because they are great films in and of themselves. I won't be delving too much into these because I've already delved into a lot of them in individual reviews, so there's no point in me just rehashing some of the things I said. Go check those out, please, if you haven't already. But for my number 15 pick, I'm going to go with the film that I'm sure many of you have heard about as well, and that is Lady Bird. This film is written and directed by Greta Gerwig, starring Saoirse Ronan and Laurie Metcalf and Tracy Letts, and it's a great coming-of-age film, wonderfully directed, fantastically well acted. I highly recommend checking it out. My number 14 film is A Ghost Story, directed by David Lowery, starring Rooney Mara and Casey Affleck. I didn't do an individual review for it for my channel, but I do highly recommend it if you're into very serious art films that are speaking particularly about certain things that have to do with time and mood and the human condition, and also a film that is unlike a lot of other films. But my number 13 pick is a lot more mainstream, and that is John Wick Chapter 2, directed by Chad Stahelski and starring Keanu Reeves, reprising his role from the first film. And this is an awesome action film. Go into it looking at it like that, I think you'll have a great time. It builds upon its predecessor in new and interesting ways, and I'm very much looking forward to a third film. Number 12 is another mainstream film, quite possibly the most mainstream film, and that is Star Wars The Last Jedi. This is one of the most divisive films to come out last year. They are going to be arguing about this film on the internet for years to come. If you're curious what I thought about the movie, please check out the review I did. Needless to say, I must have liked it if it is indeed on this list. Next up is Good Time, which was directed by the Safdie brothers, starring Robert Pattinson in one of his best roles that he's had in his entire career, and he delivers one of his best performances. This is a just gorgeously stunning, stylized film. I highly recommend checking it out. My number 10 pick is Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. This film has been getting a lot of awards recognition recently, and it is one of my favorites of the year. Although I understand why a lot of people won't like it, it is not a film for everyone. It is directed by Martin McDonagh and starring Frances McDormand, Woody Harrelson, and Sam Rockwell. The acting in it is fantastic. There are some screenplay issues when it comes to plot and things like that, but the overall screenplay, when it comes to dialogue, I thought was really fantastic. Number 9 is Phantom Thread, the newest film from Paul Thomas Anderson, and coincidentally, one of the more recent reviews that I did here on the channel. And for those of you who watched that review know that I really love Paul Thomas Anderson. He's one of my favorites. This was Daniel Day-Lewis's last role, apparently, him going into retirement. Who knows if he's going to be coming out of retirement in the future, but it is an exquisitely, masterfully well done film. My number 8 film, I think, is a film that not a lot of you are going to be aware of, and that is Columbus, directed by someone called Kogo Nada and starring John Cho and Haley Lou Richardson. And this is a film that just blew me away while watching it. It was not only under the radar, it wasn't even on a radar. I had heard about it through some of the film festivals from last year. I think I saw one trailer for it randomly. It's a film just about human interactions and human life. It reminded me a lot of the Before trilogy done by Richard Linklater, which is near and dear to my heart. And I did a whole review about those films and about the Criterion Blu-ray release of those films. It is an astonishing film. Watch it wherever you can. There's not a Blu-ray or DVD release of it right now, and I'm not sure if it's going to ever get one, but if you can find it on streaming to rent or buy, please do so. It is a great film. Number 7 is Wynn River, which was written and directed by Taylor Sheridan and starring Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen. This is a dark and serious and brooding film, something that's really right up my alley. It is a fantastic directorial debut for Taylor Sheridan, who had written several scripts in the past that I thought were really good. He wrote the scripts for Sicario, as well as my favorite film from 2016 in Hell or High Water. So I definitely recommend this film, but I have to warn you, it is very dark and depressing and graphic, so go into it with that mindset. Number 6 is Logan, directed by James Mangold. This was a film that is so different from all of the other films in the comic book superhero genre that it completely blew me away in what it was able to do within that genre. It is the most serious I think any of those films have been taken since Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, and it had this gritty Western vibe to it, but it was all a character piece, a swan song for the Wolverine character that has been portrayed by Hugh Jackman going all the way back to 2000 in the original X-Men film. And Patrick Stewart in this film is astounding, as well as Daphne Keane. Now we've reached my top 5, and my number 5 is The Shape of Water, directed by Guillermo del Toro and starring Sally Hawkins, Doug Jones, Richard Jenkins, and Michael Shannon. This was a film that I completely lauded in my review. Great acting, great direction, the world of fantasy and reality meshed so well, taking elements from a lot of interesting parts of cinema and meshing them so well into one another. It is an astonishing work from Guillermo del Toro, and Sally Hawkins is extraordinary in this film. She is the best acting and my favorite acting I've seen from any actress in any film in 2017. I highly recommend this film so much. My number 4 is the only foreign film, I believe, on this list, and that is Raw. This is a French film, and it is a film that is very dark, very graphic, and there were a lot of reports when this film first, I believe, showed at Sundance or some type of film festival that people were passing out and just losing their minds over how graphic it was. I've seen the films a couple of times, and while it could irk you if your constitution isn't that strong, I've seen worse parts in film than I've seen in this movie. But other than that, it is a great film that is all about a young girl really unleashing a lot of her inner emotions and a lot of her inner wants and desires in a rather unhealthy way. It is a film I can't quite describe. You just kind of have to see it in order to understand what I'm saying. But it is a film I saw way back in the year, and it has consistently been in my top 5 ever since. My number 3 film is Dunkirk, the newest film from Christopher Nolan, and this is a rather unique war film where it's not about winning or losing or about battles or anything like that. It's just all about surviving. There is an immense amount of tension and pressure and anxiety in this film. It is a film that is technically on another level from many of the other films that came out this year. I highly recommend it if you're a fan of Christopher Nolan and you're just interested in the new and different things he is doing. My number 2 is a film that was the first film to really wow me when it came to any of the films I saw in theaters in the year, and that is War for the Planet of the Apes. This film is directed by Matt Reeves, starring Andy Serkis as the Caesar character, and it was a film that was just so impeccably well done. The cinematography, the CGI in this film is on a completely other level. It is unlike any other CGI you will see in film today. And also, Andy Serkis as Caesar is one of the most fascinating and well-developed characters in any type of movie trilogy today. I'm not sure if they're going to be doing a 4th film or whatever, but this is a solid modern trilogy that is really to be held up as one of the best of all time. And my number 1 film is Blade Runner 2049. This film is astonishing on an artistic level, unlike most films that I've ever seen. It is so deep, so involved, so fantastic. It's what happens when you take an artistic film and give it a huge mainstream movie budget. And what you get is something unlike any other mainstream film that we are getting today. Absolutely astonishing on every level. But that has been my top 15 films from 2017. I'm curious what you guys think. I'm curious what any of your lists are. I tried to make this list as comprehensive as possible. I watched over 100 films from 2017, and it's really a solid year of film in 2017. There weren't a lot of films that I think stood out hugely above the crowd. It was a lot of films that were of great quality altogether. So that has been it for me. If you like this video, please check out the other videos on my channel.